Welcome to Don't Chuck It Up, the podcast where we take the stress out of the college search. I'm your host, Chuck. I'm a college counselor, an admissions nerd, and your guide through the applications, essays, and everything about college. Today, we are talking about what questions should you be asking when you are interacting with someone from a college or university. So I'm bringing this up because every year I go and tour colleges and universities myself. This is a way for me as a college counselor to really see what is going on various campuses and to get a real world, on the ground view of these colleges and universities. I also sit down and have coffee talks with admissions counselors as they are coming through my area and they are visiting high schools, going to college fairs, that type of thing. And I've noticed that when I meet with admissions counselors or when I'm touring a college campus, a lot of students and families aren't asking any questions. And I used to be an admissions counselor. I was a tour guide for 5 years. And trust me, this is a great opportunity to ask questions. And students and parents, you're missing out on a lot of information. So let me share with you some really cool questions that you could be asking people that you're interacting with that are representing the college or university. So the first person I would want to talk about is the admissions counselor. Now, this is the person that could be visiting your high school because they are traveling through your area and are looking for students that could be a potential future fit for their college or university. They could be the person that is standing at a college fair. And as you're walking around, they are literally standing there waiting, hoping that you're going to stop by and ask them some questions. I've been in that scenario a lot. Or if you go to visit a college, typically it's an admissions counselor who is giving you the information session, that 30 to 45 minute presentation where they're going to give you a broad overview of the college or university. So what should you be asking an admissions counselor? These are questions that a student could be asking or a parent. I'll let you all decide. My personal preference is I encourage students to be asking as many of these questions as possible. And parents, you could be sitting right behind them or standing right behind them, taking the notes. Because a lot of the times students will ask the question and they'll forget what the answer was. So parents, you could be the ears and the eyes and take notes about these answers. Maybe you'll chime in with a question or two, but really encourage your student to be asking these questions because they're the one that's going through the process. So what should you ask an admissions counselor? I think one thing that you really should be asking about is making sure you understand the application, scholarship, and financial aid process for this particular college or university. I wish it was the same for every college or university, but it's not. And frankly, if it was, I probably wouldn't have a job. So it is a little confusing, I think intentionally. So let me help you figure out what you should be asking. Number one, you should find out what the application timeline is. This is often included in an information session. They'll say, we have early action or early decision or regular decision or rolling or all these different application deadlines. Well, what you want to find out is when does the application open and when does it close for each of the deadlines? Also, you might want to ask, if I'm applying to the college, is this the application that's also for the scholarships, or is there a separate application that is needed for any particular scholarships? Many colleges have a scholarship opportunity that requires a separate application, and these are typically for their really big, impressive scholarships. So a full tuition scholarship or the honors college or something that's very unique. So you're going to want to ask, is there any special applications for any scholarships at the college or university? And also, you're going to want to know what is the financial aid process. So oftentimes you apply for admission, then you get scholarships, and then financial aid sometimes comes after that. So make sure that you know what the timeline is for financial aid. And find out what the documents are needed for financial aid. Parents, oftentimes you are going to be working on the financial aid application, and that typically is sent in at the same time that your student is working on the actual college admission application. So find out what the process is. Another thing you can ask an admissions counselor is, what is the best way for me to communicate with you? So you can say, if I have questions after this interaction, what is the best way for me to get a hold of you and ask you more questions? I'll tell you right now, admissions counselors will be impressed, especially because you're asking, how can we stay in touch and learn more about your college or university? Keep in mind that I'm also assuming that the student has introduced themselves. So when the admissions counselor comes to your high school, or you see them at a college fair, or when you go and visit a college, take a moment, students, to introduce yourself. Say, hi, my name is so-and-so. I'm from this high school in this city and state, and I'm potentially interested in studying XYZ. If you don't know, undecided is a totally okay answer, and admissions counselors are fine with that. Now, if the admissions counselor identifies themselves as an alum or an alumnus, meaning they went to that particular college, now you have a great opportunity. You can talk to that person and say, why did you decide to go to this college or university? What was your favorite part of being a student here? What is a professor interaction that you still remember to this day? What is a campus event or tradition that you look forward to every year? And what have you enjoyed being a staff member now that you found was different from when you were being a student? Also, if they're an alum, you can ask them more about the local area. Hey, I'm staying in town for this afternoon, this evening. What are 3 places that we should check out during our visit here to your college or university? Come to your high school, you could say, I'm planning to visit your college this summer. What are some places that I should check out nearby your college or university? They may ask back and say, okay, are you looking for restaurants? Are you looking for things to do? Are you looking for, shops or whatever it might be? So you might have to be ready to clarify and say, oh, I want to, watch a sporting event, or I want to go on a hike, or I want to go check out a local coffee shop. If the admissions counselor is not an alum, you can say, what do you really love about this campus or university that inspired you to work here? Remember, it could be just a job to them, but many people are picking to be an admissions counselor because they really enjoy that particular college or university, and they want to help recruit new students to that area. So as non-alums have a different viewpoint. They may say what they really notice from the outside, not being an alum of a college or university, and that's also helpful information as well. Again, you can ask them, what about the area or the location do you really enjoy, or things I should check out? So make sure you're connecting with your admissions counselor. Parents, this is a great way to get the business card of the admissions counselor so you can keep that in case you have future questions. The admissions counselor is typically your primary contact person for admissions questions, scholarships, financial aid, even learning about things like athletics, music, fine and performing arts, and other resources on the campus. So they are the person that's going to help direct you if you have additional questions that they are unable to answer. So get to know your admissions counselor. For large public institutions, you may not have a specific admissions counselor. They may just say, email into our general inbox and someone will get back to you. That's totally fine. Every college and university has their process as to how they communicate with students and parents, and we need to be respectful of that. Conversely, there might be small private colleges that are very selective that may not tell you who your admissions counselor is because they don't want that person to get inundated with questions from students who are trying to win over favors with the admissions counselors and make themselves stand out. So be respectful of whatever the admissions counselor says and what their process is and who you should be reaching out to for additional questions. So you've decided you were going to visit the college, and this summer is a great time to go visit campuses. Keep in mind that most colleges are pretty closed over the summer, so there's not going to be a ton of students around, but it's a great way to see the campus, check out the local area, and get your feet on the ground and check out what the experience is going to be like. So now we're at the second most important person to interact with, the tour guide. As a former tour guide, I spent hours, especially during the summer, giving tours. I would give 2 or 3 or sometimes 4 campus tours in the same day. As a tour guide, we are taught things that we should be saying throughout our tour to help explain the institution and point out the highlights that you see along the campus route. Since I am a former tour guide and since I'm a former admissions counselor and now I tour colleges as a college counselor, I like to do things a little bit different. So I tell the tour guide, I know you have a lot of things that you would like to say to me, but I also have a lot of questions that I would like to ask you. And feel free, we can go off the script if they don't want to say their script all the time. That's what I say because I've been doing this for a very long time and I've toured over 250 different colleges and universities. If this is your first campus visit, you may only have a couple questions because it's nerve-wracking to ask another young person questions about their experience, and that's okay. Once you've toured a couple colleges, you'll be like, oh, they're kind of saying the same thing at every college campus. They're just pointing out different buildings that look a little bit different. So they're going to talk about blue lights in the library and campus dining and residence life and classes and all those things. But you want to spice it up. And tour guides do really great when you ask them questions. So here are some of my favorites that I ask a tour guide when I am visiting a college. Of course, I always ask them, why did you ultimately pick this college? Now, I'm going to warn you, most tour guides will share that story at the very end. Typically, at the very end, when they get you back to your start spot, they'll say, now I just want to take a moment and share some insights as to why I chose this college and why I decided to stay here. That is a standard part of the tour guide script. You can ask it in the beginning so you can get them talking. You might also just learn more about, what made them decide to come to this college. Was it a particular major? Was it athletics or music or sports or, whatever it may be? There might be a particular reason, why did you decide to choose this college? A lot of students will then want to ask, and what other colleges were you looking at or what other colleges were you admitted to? The tour guides do not have to answer that. And a lot of tour guides feel like they've been put on the spot when you do ask that. So be careful when you ask them about their particular admissions experience because each student is very different and that is a very personal process. So I would not ask about, what other colleges did you look at and where else were you admitted? I would not ask that one. I would ask more about what their experiences have been like on the campus. So what's been your favorite class so far? Who has been your favorite professor and what has been an interaction that you've had with them that you really remember? What has a professor done that has been out of their way to help you in this academic process? What has it been like working with your academic advisor or your faculty advisor? So far, what has been your favorite social event on campus? What's a tradition that you've enjoyed? You're asking them questions about what their particular experience has been as a tour guide. I try and not ask them things that I could find automatically on the website. I want to ask the tour guide about their particular experience and what they really enjoy and see their reaction. Are they excited to give me the answer or are they kind of suspicious about giving me the answer? You could ask a tour guide, what is your favorite place to study on campus? Is there a hidden gem or a really cool location that you would want to have someone else know about as a cool place to study? They may not want to give that away, but they may also want to give that away. Where's your favorite place on campus to hang out with friends? What resources or offices on the campus have been the most helpful for you? What resources or offices on the campus have been most helpful for you? Has there been a staff person that has really assisted you while you've been on campus? What advice would you give to your first year self? So if the tour guide is a second year, a sophomore, a junior, or a senior, I may ask them, especially if they're a senior, I will ask them, what advice, knowing what you know now, would you give your first year self? See what they say. Tell me about what the vibe is like on campus for athletics, for music concerts, for theater, whatever you're interested in. Find out what it is like. My favorite question to ask them sometimes is, tell me about your roommate or roommate situation, and see what they say. Or, especially if they're an older student, a junior or senior, Tell me about your roommate experiences as you've gone through the campus here. You can learn a little bit about residence life and what roommates are like. Of course, always for a tour guide, you want to ask them at some point, what are some places that I should check out in town, nearby? Is there a favorite coffee shop, ice cream place to go shopping, looking for dinner or lunch recommendations? Ask them about the local surroundings. Are there things that you wish that were in the city that are not? What are your favorite places to check out and do? What have you done on the weekends when you go off campus? Where have you gone? Pick the tour guide's brains. You are not interrupting them. You are not bothering them. The reason why you are going on tour is because you want to learn about the campus and from the tour guide themselves. I use these same questions if there's a student panel or if there's just students hanging around on campus as I'm waiting for something, or if I go and get a coffee on campus, I might interrupt students and actually say, hey, I'm visiting your campus. Can I ask you a few questions? Most students are okay with answering them. Sometimes they might say, oh, I'm too busy, I can't right now, or sorry, not my thing. That's fine. But feel free and ask students questions. You are visiting the campus to learn about the campus, so ask. Another person you may interact with is a professor. This often happens during an open house or a junior visit day, something where there's a lot of faculty around, or maybe for your visit, you requested to go meet with the professor one-on-one or sit in on a class if it's during the school year. These are great opportunities to learn from a faculty member, one. You're not going to know the information from all the faculty or from every faculty in that particular department, but now you get the opportunity to pick the brain of at least one of the professors. You might ask them, what do you love about working here? What is your favorite part about being a professor at this campus? You could ask them, what classes would you recommend that I have taken in high school to prepare me for this particular major? You could ask them about, what if I want to change majors? What is that experience like on this college campus? What are the most challenging classes for this major? That can be very helpful. You can learn where to be ready. It's like, oh, all of our students in their junior year take this particular class and it's a lot of work. And okay, noted. Or a lot of our students struggle with the first semester class of their first year on college campus. Great. I have a lot of students and families that want to know about study abroad. So you could talk to the professor and say, what study abroad programs are available for this particular major or department? Tell me about some of your recent graduates and what they are doing now. Part of looking at a college is understanding, what do the students look like after they leave? Remember, we want the students to be improved and ready for the next step, whether that's grad school or the workforce or whatever their next adventure is. And hopefully the professors have been interacting with their students enough to be able to talk about some of their recent students. It's a great way to learn about what the professor thinks of their most recent graduates. What kind of student does well in your major? So talk to me about what type of characteristics you would want to see in a student in your particular major or department. And here's one that a lot of students and parents don't think about to ask, but I do encourage this, and you could ask this of an admissions counselor, a tour guide, or a professor. What changes are planned to happen in your major, at the college, in your department in the future? So oftentimes colleges are planning for the future. They're preparing for new buildings or new majors, minors, programs, whatever it may be. So ask the professor or the tour guide or the admissions counselor, what changes are on the horizon for your particular major, department, or for the university? I always ask this because I only typically visit a college every 5 to 7 years or so I won't be back for a while. But they may know what's coming down the road, and I would like to be curious about that. Sometimes they can tell you, sometimes they can't, and that's okay. So you've talked to an admissions counselor, you've asked great questions for the tour guide. Remember to say thank you for if they've been answering your questions and been very helpful. You've talked to your professor. After your tour is done, and if you have the time, go visit the local restaurant, shop, something nearby. I would recommend that you find a place that is small enough that you can talk to. Don't go to the chains. Like, you don't have to go see Starbucks or Chipotle or Dunkin' or anything like that. Find a mom and pop shop, restaurant, coffee place, ice cream store that's near the campus. Get ready to ask them some questions. You can say, I am in town visiting XYZ college or university down the road. I'd love to know, what is your experience with it? Some of them might be an alum who graduated from and say, oh, I went there. Let me tell you all about my experience. Or they can say, oh, well, we've had this business for a while and we've interacted with the students and the faculty. And you can say, what do you love about the students and the staff who are at the college or university? Another thing you can ask a local townsperson is, have you gone to any of the events on the college campus? Remember, athletics, music, fine and performing arts, museum shows, a lot of stuff on the college campus is open and available to the community. And I love to hear when community members say, yep, I go to things on the campus, especially if they say regularly, because that tells me that the local community enjoys being on the campus and they are welcome on the campus. So ask around, grab a coffee, grab an ice cream, and learn about the community. Remember, you are obviously going to that place for the particular college or university, but you're also going to be basically living there for 9 months out of the year. So ask around and what the local spots are like so that you can say, yep, I like the college, the university, as well as the location. So as you interact with various people from the college or university, admissions counselor, tour guide, faculty, professors, and the local community, those mom and pop shops that are nearby, make sure you are asking questions. You will impress the admissions counselor. The tour guide will enjoy being a tour guide much more. They hate repeating their script all of the time, and they love getting asked questions. And the professor will say, this is a really great student. That professor might even send a note to admissions saying, I really enjoyed my conversation with this particular prospective student. So it's always a positive thing when you ask great questions of a professor. And lastly, get to learn about the local community so that you are making a decision about the location in addition to the college or university. I hope this has been helpful. If you have questions or curious about a question that you may ask or may not want to ask, drop a comment, send me a DM. Of course, always share this episode to help other people with these resources so that more students and parents are aware of great questions to ask when they're interacting with an admissions counselor or visiting the campus. Because as someone who has been in those roles, I'm really trying to help and make you all look like amazing prospective students and future applicants to college. Thanks for tuning in to Don't Chuck It Up. If you are looking for clear, practical guidance on the college process, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss an episode. More next week. Until then, don't chuck it up.